Done? So go through the headlines. You don't have to read the whole content. Just the headlines also. Okay. Just go through the paper. Then I'll ask you guys. Done? What is today's date? 27. Yeah. What was yesterday? Done? What is today's date? 27. Yeah. What was yesterday? What is so significant about this date? Okay. Too big of a question. Last, how many years of independence? 70? You tell any number, I will write those numbers. 75, 76, 77. Any other dates you want me to add? 75th year of independence. Today's class, whatever words we speak of, those words will have complete effect up until the last page of polity that we will do. It is important you learn these keywords. See your mains. Again, I'm pretty much sure by now you are aware of all these things. You have something called prelims, mains, interview. Yes. Prelims fact-based. Interview is your personal communication skills and every other things that matter. Here, your entirety of marks, this is not counted to your total. This is just your elimination level. They want to eliminate the bigger competition. This is where your entire marks, whether you are in or out, is mainly this. This is just to enter into this stage. This stage ka marks is the most crucial. You don't have this under your control. When I say interview is not under your control, you will not be driving the interview. Interviewer will be driving the interview. You're just a wagon. If your luck is good, fine, you're on a good wagon. If not, you'll have a bumpy ride. Understanding? What is controllable is this. Uncontrollable, you cannot keep breaking your head. And also, most of your marks is focused here. Your polity. Understanding? See, per question, if you have to be in for the next round, minimum to minimum for a 10-mark question, okay, minimum to minimum, you have to go above 6 marks. If you're touching 8, it's great. You're damn sure in the list. You don't even have to worry about it. You can directly start preparing for interview. But minimum to minimum, you have to cross 6. At least touch 6. On an average, I'm telling for 10-mark question, 15-mark question, we have to raise the bar. Understanding. Always understand one thing. Before you enter this exam, know all the rules before it. What should be the need for you until your interview? You should know that during your first preparation itself. You will not learn it. Say, for example, you learn this trick after you come to mains. Understand? It will cost you a year. Which means again you have to go back from the prelim stage. It costs to, see, if you're preparing this year, you're going to give this exam. You come up until mains. By this itself, 1 year is taken off. If you lose this, it's not you're losing an attempt. You lost 2 years. Again, you're going to give the exam. Yes, here you've learned the trick. You've come back here. It's not that in just 1 year you're going to make it. By the time you complete it, it's another 1 year. So, 4 years are gone in just one simple mistake. That you cannot afford. You cannot afford 4 years of your life. Understanding? That is the cruciality, you know. Okay, why are we talking about this? Mains, that is your paper 2. Is your polity. Your paper 2 ka polity, when I say it should be 6+ marks. Pretty much if I ask you write something about, let's say, preamble. You don't know what this is, I haven't still explained. Let's just say I tell write about preamble. It is just a bunch of words. You cannot change anything because thinking, see, some people have this idea. I'm going to make my paper look unique. Okay. I'm going to make my paper stand out from everyone. For that reason, you can't write preamble. Okay. See, your preamble was taken from objective resolution. Just so that you want to stand out, you cannot tell preamble was taken from India Independence Act. Right? That is a misinformation, wrong information, making your answer go wrong. That is only pretty much standard content. But the marks varies for each and every person. Why? The way you interlink things, the way you highlight things, and the way you make sure this answer is relevant for today. The UPSC people are not making you read something that was 75 years back. Again, as we said, 75 years back, what those dudes did, why do you have to buy heart? Unless and until it is not relevant to today's world, it is pretty much obsolete. Yes. Common sense. Use a lot of common sense. Something that happened 75 years back to run today's country, do you need that knowledge? Unless and until it has some relevance today, it is pointless. That people don't understand. They reproduce the content, whatever 75 years was there, they just reproduce it. What is the point? Unless and until you make sure it is relevance. That is one main bridge that people forget. And when I said 6+ marks, you have to get, one major thing in your polity is highlight of your keywords and usage. And just because when I say keywords, you cannot mug up few keywords or write it. You have to use keywords which is having some sense of resemblance to the topic you're talking about. And you should have understood the topic, because as soon as they read it, they will understand whether this person has thrown keywords or used it in a correct passage. Understanding? Now, there are particular rules when it comes to polity. Write this down like a holy grail when I tell you this. These are the words you will never change or write it in smaller letters. Parliament, P, always in capital letters. Never ever in small letters. You write this. That is not good. I'm not telling that they will cut marks. In a place where I could give you 5 marks, I could give you 4 marks. 1 mark only is the difference. People have lost the UPSC ranking because of 0.5 marks. Understanding? And also the difference of 1 mark is 4 ranks. Someone gets 856, someone gets 857 marks, but their rank will vary by 4 ranks. Okay, whether you're in or out depends on even point decimals. It is almost like you have to beg for marks in mains. That doesn't mean you will write, please give me marks in the main script. That is devalued. That is, your main keyword is to make sure you will have to get maximum marks. Even if it is 0.5 marks, trust me, it will take you miles. Anywhere the word India comes, capital letters. Parliament, Prime Minister, President, Governor. Parliament, Prime Minister, President, Governor, Constitution of India. C caps, I caps. I has to never be in small letters. India can never be in small letters. Preamble, capital. Understanding? Now the words we speak about. Sovereignty. Socialism. Socialistic. Democracy. Okay? Whenever you are mentioning any personalities, all the personalities names, here it will come. Okay? It could be, for example, K.M. Munshi. You will use him as a commentator. Later, I'll explain you what is a commentator. Just right after this, I'll explain you about commentators and their roles. Any of the commentators' name you mention, always in capital letters. When I say capital letters, I don't mean everything you will write it like this. I'm not even telling this, at least the first letter. Okay? One more thing. Just, I will explain a little bit later about what is commentators. I want you to write down this also. Whenever you mention any commentators, I want you to highlight their name. Underline it. And one more thing, for God's sake, do not use multiple pen colors in your mains exam. Nothing irritates the evaluator more than that. Your own pen pick. When I say highlight, just one underline will be more than sufficient. Okay? And when you are mentioning their comment, let's say I write this. According to K.M. Munshi, I put a comma. And then whatever they tell, I highlight it. I put it in asterisk and then I highlight it. Very, very important. Done? See, when I say commentators, what is this? Previously, I just spoke to you something about preamble. Again, all this I'll deal in today's class. As of now, understand, it is a bunch of statements. The question is on preamble. This is a mains question. Okay? When they ask you about preamble, people mostly will write down one introduction, one body, one conclusion. That is what is pretty much taught to you. Write down introduction, one body, one conclusion. They will make sure they will use all the letters, words, keywords, everything of preamble in the mains. That is your body. That only everyone can write. That is the only answer they're asking. But based on this preamble, someone would have told something. Those are called commentators. Detail I'll explain. Just know this much. This is a preamble. This person has told something about this. You can add one line below that. Usually conclusion means they will tell you have to write that, you have to write this, or just sum it up. Here, you can add your own quotes. You can add your own statements which is relevant. These things will now not make sense, but they'll make sense at the end of this class. Understanding? Keep this aside for a moment. Let's dial back a little bit. 26th January, we spoke something about a Republic Day. Yes. Again, like one of you mentioned, we know Republic Day, but we don't know what exactly is a republic. We know something sovereignty, but we don't know what exactly is sovereign. We know democracy, but we don't know what exactly it is. 2024. This much of information you have to have when you say something of the word republic. What happened in this year? Okay, Swaraj. Now, when I use this word will not take me, when I just use this word, it will not take me to this particular event. It will rather take me to it will take me here. It won't take me here. Why? One small difference is there. Excellent. When I use this word, it directly takes me here. It will not take me here. See, history is done. Okay. 1905. This year, okay. Small summation, 1600s. British dudes come in the name of telling, I'm going to trade with you guys. Eventually, these dudes take over us. In 1858, completely British Parliament takes over us. Okay, as a person who will make laws for us. In this period of time, 1858, we call it as first war of independence, Indian independence. Slowly, we're not able to bear their torture, and 1905. Okay, from this period to this period, they keep torturing us for money like leeches. They keep sucking everything out. So much so that there is nothing left in us to give. People start revolting. This is a period of severe revolts. They decide that this revolt has to be curbed. Just write on up until here. Done. This period was filled with revolts. They had to suppress this, so this period of time they decided to partition Bengal. During this period of time is when we first time used the word we need Swaraj. Okay, so when I use just the word Swaraj, it will take me back to this period of From here onwards, from 1905, partition of Bengal onwards, we engaged in active revolt. Active revolt as in we started constantly fighting. Up until then, it was scattered somewhere, it was happening here and there. But from this 1905 onwards, we actively fought for revolt. In 1930, we fought for one thing: complete independence. Excuse me. The cough is taking over prevalence. Okay. 1930 onwards, we asked for complete independence, or the word. I'll explain that in a few minutes. Where had you finished up until last class? What is it? Oh, this was written down, no? You guys wrote this down, right? Okay. This particular one is written. This I explained it to you, right? Just write this down and write that explanation. That explanation I've already written. Just write this down. I'll tell you further things. Third and fourth point. What cough are you? Cough.
Hello? Jayanagar.
3:30. 3 बजे. No sugar.
Ah.
Yes, I don't know. Done? Done? (1905) onwards we started fighting. Okay, revolts were now very often. 1930, the very first time we used Purna Swaraj or complete independence makes a different shift in Indian history. Up until then, we never asked for complete independence. By the majority, we asked for dominion status. Okay. From here onwards, this was the first time, 26th January here, 1930. The first time we asked for complete independence or Purna Swaraj. Okay. So if you can ask this, fine, we asked for complete independence. Then why not call it as Independence Day? Why call it particularly as a Republic Day? Or what is the meaning of this word Republic? Because I've just called it Independence Day, right? Because we wanted complete independence. Purna Swaraj, we asked. See, no, the timings as well. Up until 1927, something called as Simon Commission will come to India. History pe they'll teach you everything. 1927, you'll get something called as Simon Commission. The whole point of that commission is bunch of English people deciding what should be the future for India. That point of time, we ask, give us dominion status. By we, our freedom fighters, we ask them, okay, that is we are asking the British, give us dominion status. To this, your British will tell, you people are all dominion status, yeah. They mock us. I'll explain a little bit later what is dominion status. 1927, Simon Commission. We don't like Simon Commission. 1928, Nehru Report. See, as I'm explaining to you like a story, I want you to write this down like a story because nowhere else you will get this explanation. 1927 Simon Commission. What is it? To decide whether India needs any constitutional remedies. Is India ready for any more laws, or is India ready for any more powers to be given to Indians? Sort of that. We don't like Simon Commission because it was all an English body. 7-member committee, all 7 were British people. We said all British people are going to decide Indian fate, so we boycotted this commission. English mock us back by telling you can only talk words, you can't do anything useful. So in the Nehru report, that is Jawaharlal Nehru's dad, Motilal Nehru, he tells, fine, we will draft up a constitution like things. Okay, where we will tell you what you should give us. In this report, we ask for dominion status. And in this dominion status, we will tell within 1 year, multiple other things will be there. But within 1 year, if you agree to this dominion status, fine, we will continue as a good relationship between British and India. If you do not agree within this 1 year, I will go ahead and ask for complete independence or Purna Swaraj. Understand this thing? Majority, no one explains like this. Nehru report pe first we ask for dominion status. If we are not given dominion status within a year, we will ask for complete independence or Purna Swaraj. 1928, we took almost 1 year. Dominion status, we gave it to them. 1929, they had to tell whether they will give us or not. As usual, British told, your face and all, I'm not giving dominion status. So British rejected. We asked for complete independence or Purna Swaraj. That day we asked for complete independence or Purna Swaraj was 26 January 1930. Write down up and here, I'll explain you what these things are. And I'll explain. Just write down up and here. '28. Done? This is the dates, different periods of struggle were. 1858 to 1905, we just kept protesting against them. Why are you taking so much money from me, dude? I don't have money. 1905 to 1950, we just kept fighting, telling, why are you torturing me? Why are you? The question of why is British asking money came in. 1950, entry of Gandhi. This stage we started fighting, but for different reasons. Telling, if you are telling, if British is telling we are here for Indians' betterment, apparently that's what they called it. They are here for our betterment. Then involve us in more like parliament, civil services. Involve us like that. After 1930, no, enough. Your good-heartedness is enough. We will take care of ourselves. You first leave us. Up until 1928, we asked for dominion status. Now we'll see what is dominion status. India. Outside India, all the other countries. Dominion status is this simple. However I explain it to you and however you understand, that I want you to reproduce in the book. Within India, whatever things that I will do, conduct elections, or two states are having disputes, then solve the dispute. Within India, whatever is going to happen, that only Indians will do. For example, civil services, okay? Any fights, conflicts, or giving education, employment, everything within India, Indians will be responsible. Let's say this country, Pakistan, tomorrow wakes up and decides, I'll go fight with India. That time, India is now going and dealing with another country. This we call it as external affair, right? Internal affair within India. External affair, which means India and some other country is involved. This external affair, your British will take care. Simple. Within India, whatever, Indians will take care. India and any other country involving, that British will take the decision whether India should fight back or just take the beating from Pakistan. This is one example. Second example, let's take water. See, I told you Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, all were once one only. Which means we have shared water bodies. Let's say here we have Indus, here we have Brahmaputra. Bangladesh and Pakistan are asking, no, we want more water. Which means India should have a negotiation with both. But India here, this Indians cannot go and do the negotiation. But instead, on India perspective, British will do the negotiation. It's involving some other country. Now let's say Andhra Pradesh and Telangana are fighting. Okay? And they're telling we'll create third state. This time, whether British will come in and do the third state or Indians will only do the third state. Because it is happening within India. This is called dominion states. This is what we asked them. Within India, whatever is there, I will take care. Your external affairs, communications, war, etc., you take care. This is dominion status. India pe I am only governing, but India's external affairs, India is dealing with other country. For example, you all have heard of this United Nations, WTO, IMF, all these things. If India has to join, then the British only will have to allow because they are the only ones taking decisions. Right? This is dominion status. Write down up until here. In the words you understood. No. Yes. We asked this. We just asked for this. 1928. We didn't receive until after independence. That also will explain how it is. A little bit tricky, but inside India के लिए. British. If anything is coming to your country or leaving the country, it's all British. They never gave us. We asked it, but they never gave us. This concept is dominion status. Write this down very neatly. You do not get the explanation. In your own words, you have to write it down. None? See now, India, internal India, Indians. External India, British. The British considered one person as their head, that is the British Queen. To differentiate, I'll just assume this is crown. Okay, this is the British Queen. Complete opposite to your dominion status is your republic or sovereignty. Look at this. We asked, give us this. We asked this because first at least Pura India ke liye let them give freedom. Then we'll ask for Pura India is what they asked. This only these people didn't give. That's why the 1 year timeline. If you do not accept Nehru report in 1 year, we will ask for complete independence, which means India. Within India also will be Indians. Outside India will also be Indians. Simple only. In here, if I am going to make a decision, I told you, within India, Indians. Outside India, British. British consider who as their head? Queen, this lady. Right? Here, within India, Indians. Outside India, Indians. Now we need a representative head. Their representative head is the Queen. We also need one representative head. Thus comes President. Okay, just understand it here. Now when I say complete independence or Purna Swaraj, within India also I'll only take decision. Outside India also I will only take decisions. Now if I have to decide one day morning if Pakistan wakes up and decides it will come to war, I will be the first to go and trample them. I don't need to ask any external factors. I have a head of my state. Head of state in India is the president. Okay. So I will decide whether I'll go trample them or not. I will not ask British. I will not ask anyone. Now there's something called UN, WHO, WTO, international organizations. I will decide whom I should go and join, whom I should not join. Okay. Now, above me is someone there, above president is some British dudes there. Here. No, only I am the only one there. India, within India also Indians only. Outside India also Indians only. Okay. Above me, there is no other factor telling me how or what I should do. This is called as sovereignty or sovereign. No one is dictating me what I should do. Understanding? Now, this sovereignty, if we want, we need this head of state. Okay, this head of state should be from me only. Alright? This head of state here is hereditary. Queen's family or king's family only will come into picture here. Understanding? This is called monarchy. One king or queen are deciding what will happen. We didn't want that there. We are tired of this kind of thing. Already we had British. That life was enough for us. We did not want it anymore. Rather, we wanted the Indian people to be the main source of power. Okay? If someone is the head of state, then we don't want one particular family to come and lead that. We want these people to come and decide this. See, when I say sovereign, which means highest authority. Highest authority in India, we decided should be picked by Indian people and not any country like them or any family like them. Thus, this person is called the president or someone has to give him this power. There he is the king or queen, people has to listen, right? Before independence, the British were telling us we had to listen because we were under the law. Now, if we have to listen to this president guy, British are not going to tell anything because British are thrown out. We have to make a law that tells that, yes, this guy we have to listen to. But that law should be made in a way that we, the common people, are the ones giving him the power. So this guy is sovereign or this country is sovereign. Sovereign means simple. Within India, I am only ruling. Outside India, I am only ruling. If this guy has to be sovereign, the power has to come from people. Thus the name popular sovereignty. Understanding? This guy is the sovereign or head of state because he is getting the power from the people. Thus the name popular sovereignty. Okay. Here, this British Queen lady. Okay. This British Queen lady has parliament below her. Long ages back, the king or queen was very much telling the parliament what to do. Now it is just symbolic purpose. Okay. Here, parliament tells everyone what to do. Understanding? This parliament tells their own people, British people. Let's forget India and this. This parliament tells the people what to do. People are not telling the parliament or the head of state what to do, but these people are telling them what to do, which means parliament is powerful here. Thus, parliamentary sovereignty. The head of state, the power is coming from a top-down approach. This nowhere it is given, but you have to write down. Parliamentary sovereignty, it is top-down approach. From top, the rules are coming to the bottom, people. But in popular sovereignty, the rules are coming from here to here. This is bottom-up approach. Understanding? People are the one deciding who this person is. Still, we have spoken only about sovereignty. We did not even use the word republic. We'll do after this. Just write down these two things. In comparison, write it like a story. Don't write it like you're writing polity. Write it down like a story because that will help you retain longer. Yes. Yes. No, British is also sovereign only, but their sovereignty has this monarchy as a head. That's all. Sovereignty is one thing only, not monarchy or this thing. Within Britain, they are only making laws. For outside Britain also, they are only making laws. Sovereignty ke liye write down this simple word. Within country, I am only making laws. Outside country, I am only making laws. That's all is sovereignty. Yes. No, we have one head of the state. Okay. Need why we are telling this, if India has to be represented, one guy has to represent, no. Like that. See, for example, this legacy is there. You're coming in, fine. Legacy is there, this building is there, everyone is there. But to do one class, one person has to be there. No, to call this is a polity class, you all are sitting. You are in legacy building only. Like India pe only everyone is there. Indian people are only there. But one person has to stand up and do the class. Like that, one representative of India. See, for example, we tell India signs a document. India invited France as its guest for Republic Day. India means who exactly? We cannot take all our population, go tell the France they do come. We need one representative for all of us. That is one head of state. That head of state is president. Done? Yes. As a democracy can have a monarch also or a republic also. I'll tell you now. When we speak about republic, we will know. See, as a matter of fact, anyone calls themselves as democracy. China calls itself as democracy. That is the biggest irony. North Korea itself also claims it has democracy. Democracy, what exactly is democracy? Even on paper, it is very debated. Done? We spoke about sovereignty, right? Dominion within India, Indians, outside India, Britishers. Dominion status. Complete independence or sovereignty within India, me only, outside India, me only, India only. Now, this head of state in India, I told you, people are electing this guy, right? Now, when this person is getting elected by people, okay, he draws power from this people. That is why popular sovereignty. Clear up until here? Because we had a history, okay? Ancient India, you've seen. It's king, queen, okay? You would have seen your Mysore wars, okay? That you'll get a little bit later also. All these places where basically the generals will kill the king, take place. So one particular family is constantly dictating. Yes, from ancient to your modern tak, someone is power, is beating us or telling us what to do. Constantly we've had this top-down approach only. Someone in the top is making decisions for the lower people. By lower people, we mean us, the common people. After this stage ended, we get your Mughals. Again, same history there. After this Mughals, we get this Britishers. I mean, we get Portuguese, we get French, we get your Britain. Same approach. We are tired of this lifestyle. For the first time, we did not want this top-down approach, but a bottom-up approach. For the first time, we wanted people to be the one. See how ironic this is. You're claiming you're doing good for me. Like if I'm going to be elected as a prime minister and I'm going to make laws to people, I will have to make laws keeping the people in my mind. I shouldn't make laws thinking how much money can I grab from these people? How much discomfort can I give to these people? That should not be the case. Bottom-up approach was one fix to solve this ages of problems that we had. This periods was the main reason why all the countries wanted this bottom-up approach and not top-down approach. This 1700s, okay, world again history pe they will do. You'll have something called as industrial revolution. 14th century, you have something called as Renaissance. Renaissance means new thinking, rebirth. People question, if these people are all there to protect me, then why are they causing me so much trouble? They should be listening to me rather than I listening to them. So they started questioning. That culminated in your 1700s, calling as the French Revolution came up with this. Individual should be at the center and the state should provide to him. Up until 1700, state is at the center. Whatever state tells, you have to listen. Divine theory. State or the king or any of these people should be considered like God and you guys have to listen. This period, people started asking, why? Why should I follow that? If he is there, this guy is there to serve me, then he should not be at center. I should be at center. Here is when for the first time the concept of liberty, equality, fraternity came in, meaning individual should be at the state, the center, and state should serve him. These principles is when we took this bottom-up approach. That is, individual is at the center, state should be there to serve this guy. Now, if I'm telling the same individuals are here and this guy is going to serve us, then this guy should not belong to any nobility. This guy should not belong to any heredity. This guy should be drawn from us. And this guy should be selected by us. If I'm claiming this guy is head of state, then this guy has to be elected by me. Understanding? People of India elect its own head of state. This is called as republic. Matlab, simpler terms, I decide who rules me. I didn't have any say in this. Ancient India, I didn't have any say. Medieval India, I didn't have any say. Modern India, I didn't have any say. But now I decide, president, now this guy, if I decide I don't want this guy, I can remove that guy. Yes, so I decide who rules me through election. That is republic. Simpler terms, I decide who has to frame rules for me. I decide what he should do. Okay, understanding? Any doubts? Yes.
That period was just like institutional British state, but even in 1700s, we were under their control. We were not even aware about anything.
Yes.
Then how come we know about liberty, fraternity?
Okay. This period I told 1700s, this three came in, right? This was called as French Revolution. In French Revolution is where this thing comes up for the first time. And France was the first one to adopt this over monarchy. They didn't want any more king guy doing this. When France got this enlightenment, up until them, see, today also France is your European Union and all these things if you keep. This European Union pay, up until then it is the monarch only. Suddenly one state has got this concept of, I am going to decide who rules me. It threatened all the neighboring states. It created fear. Okay. And also this guy, very powerful of all of them. Okay. This guy doesn't like that. If this guy is asking, okay, that people will rule, then obviously here also they'll ask. Right? He was scared. And this guy already had a lot of colonies. This guy was called as colonizer. What he did to India, he captured India and he was taking all his resources. This Britain guy was colonizer, India was a colony. Similarly, like India, he had multiple colonies. India, USA, Africa, right? He had multiple colonies. Because this guy fought and this guy achieved this, one of the colonies. also fought. Okay, this is the same period, 1700s, only this event also will happen. American Declaration of Independence, which means USA gets independence from Britain and forms itself into a new country. This guy is shit scared now. He is scared, what if all the other people also will take off this and do of this? So, to make sure the other colonies doesn't get this, he legally terms and legally passes laws telling, now this country belongs to me, I will be the one to pass the law. Modern history is not at all done for you. Started, no? So, for the first time during this period of time, to claim the legality of India, he passes something. What happens in this year? Any idea? 1773. Battle of Plassey was 1757. 1773, something happens. That begins the actual legal colonization ka battle. A regulating act of India. Your British passed that, claiming, now who can pass a law? Only India can pass a law to India only. No, India can't go and pass a law to Maldives. India can go and pass a law to Sri Lanka. Basically, Britain told India cannot be, India is mine. How did I tell that? I passed the law. That law came into effect, meaning Britain claimed, I want India. The reason I told you here the popular sovereignty, all this is, some idea that was originating in 1700 started changing for everyone. USA was a colony like us only, but it got freedom. Now when we, in 1947, we wanted freedom, we also asked for the same model that originated in 1700s. Liberty, equality, fraternity. This became the core concept of the so-called objective resolution that you guys wrote. And modified version of this is Preamble. Still today, this I'm talking to you 1700 ka history. Then I spoke to you about 1947 ka history. And now I'm speaking to you about 2024 ka history, where we use Preamble, liberty, equality, fraternity. The so-called concept of you being able to vote is you having the ability to decide who you will vote for. You deciding that you will study this, irrespective of whatever caste you are born in, whatever gender you are born in, that is your liberty. Today you're doing this how? Yeah, my dad told, mom told, uncle told, aunt told, everything is there, but you are here. No one is telling because you are a woman, you cannot take this course. No one is telling, and that especially our Republic Day being more women empowerment centric, you are having this liberty now to do this. Remember I told you, your UPSC, you shouldn't study in a way that you will 1700 ka fact you can't throw it to them. Why 26th January 2024 women empowerment was the theme? Why suddenly all the women drivers, women was main idea? Did you watch the parade? If not, just go ahead and watch it today. It is a very important milestone for India. Why did they have to pick women empowerment? Why? Because you have this concept of liberty, equality, and fraternity. How did it come to you? This is the history. And why UPSC wants you to study this? To know what and how you got what you have today. This is what they will ask you. They will not ask you, tell me about liberty, and you will tell, sir, liberty is, and you will give up some mugged up statements, they will know it. You talk to them like having a conversation or you're telling them a story. Then it's like you know the concept. The 1700 concept say USA got freedom. To make sure that no other one gets this, they made sure that they will be the ones passing the law. And they were the ones passing the law. Up until our independence law, see, we declared 1935 we are free, but we were not free. 1947 we became free. Why? Because they told you are free. Understanding? Now we are tired of this 1947 period of time. We are tired of this top-down approach. Our own independence was dependent on them. For the first time, we wanted bottom-up approach. How did we want this? How did we even come into our mind? because of this. 1947, we decided we don't want monarchy. We want republic. Why did, now they'll ask you a question, why do you think they wanted republic? Why can't they go with monarchy? Instead of a British queen, you can tell Indian king. Because ancient India was king and queen only. Medieval India was king and queen only. Why then modern India should not have king and queen? Why did we need this guy, president guy? President guy is no king and queen. He will be elected by people, he will be thrown away by people. That is republic. We could have picked monarchy, but why did we pick republic? History. Ancient India, say we have had this top-down approach, top-down approach, top-down approach. For almost 400 years, we were under the captivity of your British. This idea changed the world. Now that idea, 300 years later almost, we got it. Understanding? That is why we chose republic over monarchy. This is not there in any book, but these are the questions that they will ask you. Understanding? This should be your way of preparation. So whenever you say Republic, Republic Day, simple question if they ask you, okay, Republic Day, why? If they ask you that, this is the way you have to talk. Write down in your own way, like a small story.
So can we tell that before the idea of liberty, we didn't know about the bottom-up approach?
We didn't know more than that, it couldn't survive. And one main thing is we didn't know also. Why we don't know? Because our entire lifetime we just saw it like this only. Up until 12th century, we thought Earth was at the center and all the planets kept revolving. Why? Because we didn't know. Then we came to know. And see, for example, your Copernicus, Galileo and all, if you see, their eyes would be blinded. You would have heard these stories, right? Why? Because they were telling the people something new against their belief. Similarly came this democracy also. Similarly came this republic also. We didn't know, now we know. And it is taking time to get adjusted. Slowly, these terms I'll explain later. But fraternity means brotherhood.
What is
1773. Whatever India was there, now Britain told. India is having something called as Court of Directors. Completely history. They will teach you everything in detail. This Court of Directors will now be looked after by a board of control, that is your British officials. In a simpler manner, they are trying to, British Parliament is trying to control who was controlling India. A group of merchants were controlling India. Now, your British Parliament was controlling them. So, indirectly, who is controlling India? Britain.
this act is actually responsible for the Independence Act passed?
This act was the beginning. See, this Court of Directors were the people who were taking control of India. When we slowly, now initially when you go and tell, dude, now you're under my control, this guy will not like. But this was the first step, beginning in making them come under us. From 1773 to 1858, we were slowly trying to get this COD under the control. The Britain was trying to get it under control. 1858, it didn't even regard this guy. Directly, it was only British Parliament. No, 1858 was direct control. 1773, the process began. No, you're telling.
I'm saying because
Yes.
act the bill was passed to the British Parliament.
Yes.
Act that gave British the permission to do so was the Rebellion Act of 1793 or that of
1833. Because that time we legalized it. That is, British Parliament started. This was baby step. 1773 was baby step. But if you ask me, where did it originate? It was 1773 only. Who gave British the power that is proper in terms of legality? That is 1833 Act, Charter Act of 1833. But if you see the baby steps beginning, everything is 1773 only. History page will explain everything in detail. They'll do it to you. Hmm. King or queen is the head for scene's sake. But if you have to make any decisions, it's all parliament only. Nominal, yes. Real is prime minister.
But they have a right to it.
Who has?
So
Yeah, they have. Done? Now you understand the concept of republic. No longer anymore family, king, queen, hereditary, monarchy. No. I pick this guy. I also have the ability to throw away this guy. See, in the case of king also earlier, they used to tell, okay, people are picking the king, but people didn't have the right to throw away that king. Here they have. That is why this guy is a republic. Now you know sovereignty and republic. Clear or not? Yes. Now small history again. 1946 cabinet mission, again completely history page, they'll explain everything. 1946 Constituent Assembly came into picture. Okay. Nehru goes ahead and passes something called as objective resolution that we kept discussing. Objective resolution means this Constituent Assembly was going to do what? Excellent. This Constituent Assembly was going to draft the constitution. Jawaharlal Nehru told what our constitution will be like. Okay, that is objective resolution. Basically, he's giving an index to what constitution will be. 1946, this was set up. 1947, they gave us independence. Okay, we are independent, we are free. But all the important people who are there, they're all in Constituent Assembly only. Now they don't have time to take care of outside country and inside country. Completely independent, free. India is free, 1947. Now the Indians ask, could you bring back dominion status? This is where it gets little tricky, but it is very simple. India completely free. We are drafting up all the important people who are there. They are in the Constituent Assembly drafting constitution. Clear? So they already have. Your Constituent Assembly had two roles to perform. What was that? One was constitution, one more was ordinary laws. Yes, that is to act like a parliament, like you said. So it had to make ordinary laws. So within India, it was taking care. It was making the constitution for all of India, as well as for within India, it was making laws. It didn't have the time, energy, efficiency to do something for outside India. So this constituent members, they asked, British, now let's take dominion status until I finish my constitution. Meaning, within India, I'll take care. Outside India, whatever is there, you take care. Okay? One guy will come, Lord Mountbatten. This guy is a British. This much only. See, this guy cannot make any decisions which will favor British. I'm talking this 1947 onwards. Completely free India is. We just need one guy head to be there up until we finish this. That's all. This guy cannot tell, in this 2 years I'll take off India. Nothing like that. Over 1947, it is completely free. India only will take inside decisions, outside decisions, everything. But because we are stuck in making constitution, that is why we had asked Constituent Assembly way back, but those guys didn't give us. Okay? We asked them to give us time so we would be prepared with constitution by the time we got freedom, but they didn't create it to us. And immediately they gave us independence because they didn't want to deal with the time. So after independence, India got dominion status. India never got dominion status before independence. We kept asking, they kept rejecting. When we rejected, they started giving. 1928, we asked dominion status. They told no. 1942, they told we will give you dominion status. We told quit India. Understanding? Simple. This dominion status doesn't mean anything. It is just for temporary arrangement. Why I'm stressing on this is this was UPSC prelims question. Did India get dominion status? Yes, but only after it received independence. And it was not of a permanent nature. It was just a temporary adjustment. Understanding? So did India get dominion status? Yes. When? After independence. Simple. Okay. Write this down. It's not in any of the books, but it was asked in prelims multiple times.
India.
Yes. India asked for it. Now, this guy will not be called as president or anything. This guy was just governor general. To make ordinary laws for the country, within the country.
That means the same thing, you know, drafting the constitution.
No, drafting the constitution means now who will become the head? After this Lord Mountbatten guy goes off, who will become the head of state? Now, what are the rules that India has to follow? Today, whatever constitution we have, that they were drafting it back then. So it was a very futuristic project. But at that point of time, Kelly also they needed some laws. That was this. Understanding? Yes. Yes. But to tell what he should do, he was there. But on his own, he can't take a random decision and tell that these members are there. Na? These people will tell this guy what to do. He can't take any decisions on his own. It's just like a head. We need one head up until we finish the work. That is this guy. Basically a puppet guy.
The constitution
Yes.
was done by
No. He just made sure the boundary. Yeah.
same, right?
Hmm.
Then why wasn't it done by state instead of British people
Yeah.
doesn't know anything about it.
True.
All this long. And the partition was done in a very horrible way.
Yes.
And why did India let a British person do it instead of
Okay. See, at that point of time, the fight was between India and Pakistan. Now, someone has to divide between India and Pakistan. If I put an Indian, Pakistan will cry, Indian did it to his favor. If I put a Pakistan person to do that, Indian will cry, this guy did it to his benefit, which was bound to happen. So we thought this dude was going to act impartially. And that's why we picked this guy. That is why both of them could be satisfied. Satisfied in the sense, not fight about it. But that was the most horrific thing that they did. That India suffers the curse till now. But that is the thing that we had to pick that time. Because at that point of time, there was already communal clashes were on the rise. India was not agreeing with Pakistan. Pakistan was not agreeing with India.
this partition was in
At that point of time, apparently, in that period of time, we didn't have another option to curb the communal clashes, and the amount of death rate was highest. Already see in the period of time 1940 to quit India time we speak now. India had one of the worst famines in the entire world. We say Hitler killed that guy, this people. Your Britishers are very good in framing and making and breaking the history. They have portrayed, now if I say Hitler is equals to worst, you are made to believe. I mean, that guy was worse, no doubt about it. But the same thing what they did to us, 1942 Bengal famine, British have killed more than a number that even Hitler could think of. But British are to be portrayed as good people. This famine, whatever was caused in 1942, was not natural famine. It was a man-made famine. Almost a majority of the population perished because of the British policies. But because they were the ones dictating the history, they changed the history to their liking. Rather, do you know what your British calls today itself? It says we are the masters and makers of civilization. It said we were, by we, all of the world, USA, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, your West Asia, everyone were barbarians. Because British out of their nobility came and did all this, today we are a civilization. What is true?
In India today, even when you're teaching, you speak in English.
Yeah.
And all of this is actually an impact of the British rule.
Yes.
So, isn't that this Western civilization that's happening right now is also an impact of the British?
Oh, no. See, they are never the masters of civilization. In the first place, British is never the master of civilization. They are the barbarians of the civilizations, if you take about it. We have something called as education. Western education doesn't mean westernization. Western education we accept. Westernization we do not accept. See, this and this are totally contradictory. You know why? Here they are speaking something called as liberty, equality, fraternity, just for starters. What is liberty? Individual's will to do what he wants. Yeah, freedom. As you said, simple words, freedom. If I am free to do what I want, then I am free to my belief system also. Yes, if I believe something is right or something is wrong according to my culture, then why am I a barbarian? If you're telling me you're going to give me this and tell that my belief system is wrong, then how is it? See, I'm not telling Indian culture was at its apex. Indian culture was breaking down. By Indian culture, we do not mean whatever we have, to name a few, we have one of the best cultures. Indian culture, we have the best cultures. But it was filled and it was breaking due to clashes, which was with respect to religion, which was with respect to your Varna systems, which was with respect to your Jati system, caste system, all the sort of things. Okay, it was breaking down. It was not perfect, but neither were theirs. I'll tell you one small example of what they had. They called our system disgusting, they called our system bad and everything. Today, there's something called as Article 21. Okay, this when I come to your more of this thing, but up until that, just notice Article 21A, a right to education, RTE Act. Okay, this is nothing but mass education. Government has to give education to everyone. It was not a British concept that we got in; it was an Indian concept. That is, poorest of poor people also should receive education. Your British wanted to create an education system. Again, this they'll teach you in your history in such a manner that this is British. Okay. They needed some people. Now you have your group A, group B, group C, D, E, and all those. All the top posts was filled by British. They needed someone to work for your lower clerical jobs. This section of people, they wanted to fill it up with Indians because then you can shut up. You can tell that, okay, see, I'm giving employment to Indians. For these people to sit in this position, they needed some education. The whole concept of education, your British wanted to give only to these people so that they will be there to fill up these posts. Majority, see, this was just 1% of the population. Remaining 99%, they didn't want to give. Whatever we call it as mass education. Why? These people can't pay for education. Later, they keep telling in your history, you will read 0 to 6 years of age, we will give education and everything. But it was never holistic. The only proper education that India got was after your 19%, we got freedom, and when we thought mass education is crucial. This concept of mass education is there in India's culture since times immemorial. From the beginning of Indian culture, we have something called as Gurukula system. We have something called as madrasas, where education imparting was very important. That entire concept of Gurukula system or madrasa was broken down by your British because they didn't want to give education to common people. They create in your 1833, remember I told you an act, 1833 Act, British legalized it. You get something called as Macaulay's Minute Plan. They said, create a section of Indians that are Indian by blood but British by taste. This was your British. Western education, fine, but Westernization, never fine. Even today, this is your mains question. Same concept. Western education, Westernization, never the same. We agree for Western education, but never Westernization. And they are not the ones who can get claim for, yes, English is the language that they created or better. They are not the only sole creditors. Understanding?
Westernization, their policies were bad.
Yes.
Their education policies just
Yes.
why is it Westernization goes that? So, yeah, this is what I mean.
No, I didn't. No, you're telling me that there is mass education back in Britain. Yeah. But there is Westernization in whatever this is. Whatever they did to themselves, that is education. Whatever they did to anyone apart from them, that is the colonies. Okay, for example, we were talking about Commonwealth. For every single colony, whatever they did, that is Westernization. What they did for themselves was education.
What we call Westernization is what they did to us.
Yes. See, at the end of the day, they were not like they call masters of civilization. They were the barbarians of civilizations who ruined multiple things. See, for example, we have something called, right. You see all the parades that happened. Each state had represented their own things. Indian handicrafts. Still today, because of them, what they did in 1800s, still today, our handicrafts are suffering. Remember, we spoke about jute in the last class? We are suffering still today because of their policies. Every single thing. We have crossed Westernization. This was not even Westernization, this was a pure barbarianism. What they did to us was a pure barbarianism and colonization. And in depth, when you start reading your history, you will understand the amount of things that they have put to us. 1942, world is in brink of war. By brink of war, it's almost about to collapse. Second World War is happening. Your Britain Prime Minister, I told you, one of the worst famines. We needed, people were dying not because of any major illness or anything. Again, there was also endless bubonic plague, everything was happening. But we could save those people only if we had given them food grains. That's it. You don't have to give them much. You just had to give food grains to stop people from dying. When the authorities asked the British Prime Minister, the so-called great Mr. Winston Churchill, he gives a statement back, and this is the same point of time Gandhi did do or die quit India movement. His response was, if so many people are dying by famine, why is Gandhi not dying? Right? And we could have prevented this much amount of death in the history of the world. I'm not talking of history of India. One of the worst man-made death was 1942 famine. If they are actually the masters of civilization or Western education or today, whatever we're talking in this language, if it is all good to them, they don't have to kill so many people. You know, where did they divert? It was one of the most flourishing zones. Bengal was the most, not today's Bengal. Okay, today's Bangladesh, okay, all our states of Assam, everything was clubbed as Bengal back then. Richest producing area of food grains. That place getting famine, imagine how much it is. That place had famine, okay, all the food grains from here, they had taken it and they were giving it to their soldiers who were fighting the Second World War. Why? Because they wanted the surplus. Their end goal was winning the war, not to make sure that people dying ke liye they have to give food grains. That was the most pathetic thing. When survey was conducted multiple years later as to how could you have prevented 1942, this answer was simple. given them food. 3 days, 4 days, children, adults starved to death without food. All you could do was just give food grains, those people would be alive. Who gives you a right, no matter whatever you give to the world, no one gives you a right to kill millions of population, and that's what the British did. And only Hitler is portrayed as the worst guy, not them. Why? Because they wrote the history books. Our own history book today, we have, remember I told you about this commentators. That is all from their perspective we have to take. Because our education, the Western education glorified British. Indian education was suppressed. Understanding? Just so that in the history books, they come out looking like this. Today, everywhere throughout the world, everyone has one perception of Napoleon, everyone has one perception of Hitler. But your so-called UK or Britain, good guy, after whatever they've did to us. This is what they did to us in the name of Westernization. No one can ever, yes, there have been multiple good things, but there have been immeasurable bad things they did. Railways, communication, okay, the language we are speaking. Now, for example, United, we all come from different language, yes. Today, even to bring one particular language as a common language, multiple people are fighting. If someone tells, bring Hindi, we know how the fight is going on. We all have English, yes, that's a good thing. But that, just that alone cannot be equalized to the amount of horrific things they did to India. Okay, and you, when you sit in the interview, yes, again, you have liberty to your own thoughts. Don't ever glorify these dudes. They're one of the worst things that happened to us, but we also have some perks. We cannot tell they are completely horrible. They are completely horrible, but they came with some perks to us. Understanding? People tell now, this is a debate that happened. The same topic, like you guys speak, which is excellent. The same thing that we spoke, Jawaharlal Nehru and Gandhi also speak about the same thing. They both don't see eye to eye in many things. He likes Western education. By Western education, why? Because it unifies. Not all of Western education, just the language. For example, let's take English. It's unifying a northern, southern, eastern, western, right? And he likes the concept of liberty, fraternity, equality. These things he wanted to bring to India. Now this person, no, why that? Let's bring Indianness to our education. Let's bring Swaraj. Let's bring Sarvodaya. Okay, let's bring Gram Sabha, Gram Swarajya, Gram Sarvodaya. This, the conflict about Western, that is again your history page will have Anglist Oriental Anglist Oriental controversy. You will have it in your history. We have it still today. Okay, this you will face it even in your interview board also. So one thing is, we have a very rich, unique culture who are adoptive. See, now we have adopted English. We are telling we are unified and everything. The European Union, if you see, not everyone speaks English there. They have very different languages there. Are they okay if we go there and we tell we will teach you one Indian language? Are they okay to learn that and do whatever it is that we did? They would never be okay. Why is it? We could also unite them with one common language, but they are not okay. But we were adoptive enough. Now, when they ask why only India did that, why they are not doing, you cannot tell that, yeah, because we are slaves, we accepted it. Now, you cannot talk bad about India. I mean, come on, you're going to become the bureaucrats of India, and you're not going to go and speak smack about India. We are very adoptive culture. Okay? So that is why we have been able to make the best out of what was worst. That should be your portrayal.
We needed a form.
Yes.
Britain doesn't require a form.
You're seeing Britain as only one country, right? European Union today, whatever it walked out of, right? It needs a common language. Reason is, not a single person, if you go, for example, they have a particular, let's take UN itself. Its headquartered language itself is French. Which British people do you think will be able to speak apart from English and they learn French and everything? They need French. Why? If they have to communicate, but they don't. They also need a unifying language, but they're not willing to do that.
But even now, if you ask a tourist or a student, people will have a problem, right? They don't speak English, not
Yes.
everyone of them.
Yes, true.
They speak only the French.
Yes. And they expect us to learn the language, because if you are going to a land, then you learn the language of the land, is their adoptive principle. Right? But see, apart from this common language, they have everything. Apart from this language, they have everything. They have common currency. They have common trade route. That is why it's called EU, European Union. They're trying to unify it in every way possible, but apart from common language. Because they feel if they pick any one language, which means all the others should learn, are forced to learn. Yeah, that is where your liberty is coming into picture. Today we need, yeah, India ke liye one pura language we need. And when central government tries to bring Hindi, southern states are getting riled up and telling you are forcing Hindi down our throat. It is fine from the southern states. You cannot tell it is wrong. It is my individual opinion. I don't want to learn, don't learn. But again, from the center's perspective, it is not wrong. All it is trying to do is create one common Indian language. Right? Here there is no black, there is no white. You cannot tell center is wrong or your southern states are wrong. Everyone is fine. Now your southern state can tell why only Hindi. You pick Tamil and make that common. Will the northern states be okay to learn Tamil and speak in that? Or pick some other language for that matter? So when it comes to polity, it is not a yes or no. You cannot just do in that. Understanding? Topics get dwelled so much places. Yes, yes. No, sure. It is very different to their own places. Now, for example, France, different. Britain, different. They all have their own history. For example, China, if you see, China world map or China's national map, Arunachal Pradesh is theirs. Pakistan, if you see, almost all of our top head that we draw like this. I am algae. That is theirs. Our own history book, today, whatever we are reading, right, from 1773 to 1947, it is totally different in Britain history book. So your history book will be whatever you want. You understood your republic and sovereignty concept? Commonwealth was formed more specifically in the end of your Second World War. In detail, we will go to.
India joined.
Commonwealth. Hmm.
It finished in which tries to capture the
Hmm.
all the colonies can come together to defend.
Hmm.
That was the main motto of India.
No, no, no. See, Commonwealth. Okay, see, because we are on the topic. This was addressed in the objective resolution also. See, India became free 1947, but we were also having dominion status. You all know that. India also announced that India will join Commonwealth. Commonwealth is this. British dude, head. Member states, former colonies. You understand colonies? Formerly whoever they had captured. This British guy is head. India, by that, Jawaharlal Nehru, our first prime minister, he told, India is going to make a decision to join Commonwealth. By joining Commonwealth, we accept the British as the head of Commonwealth. Okay, Alex. Jawaharlal Nehru, when he told this statement, every single person freaked out and told, you are going voluntarily entering into another association with this dude who almost killed us, who almost killed the concept of our nation and the spirit of nationhood. He gives one statement. Jawaharlal Nehru makes a statement by telling, we are joining this Commonwealth out of our free will. Okay, they are not forcing us to join. We will join it out of free will and we will exit it also at free will. Why? Because India is sovereign. No one can ever change this fact, whether we join Commonwealth or not, no one can change this fact. This is the defining fact. We are joining Commonwealth is because, see, at that point of time, Second World War has happened. The world is in the midst of your developed countries. Okay? One side, the countries are fully developed, posh. Another side, they are developing. Today, we call ourselves as developing country. But back then, we just became states. We are the bunch, all the member states in this country were just now becoming countries. So any economic issue we had, let's say, again, I spoke to you about something called WTO, UN, all these places where a developed country ka notion will be better, or simply India standing there and telling 100 members will be there, India will stand up and tell, I want to say something. Do you think it'll have any weightage? But let's say 50 members are standing up. This union is standing up and telling UN or WTO, no, dude, whatever you're doing is good only for developed nation, but for us freely now formed countries ke liye, it is not better. How will be the weightage? So this was more of a bargaining chip to give weightage to the new formed nations. One of the advantages. There were multiple reasons why we joined Commonwealth, but this was the main thing. All of us, they were similar like us. They were just formed nations or just about to form nations. So it gives us a huge bargaining chip. India was free to join. India is free to exist. Why? Because India is a sovereign nation. It just accepted British as the head of this Commonwealth only, not head of India or any other country. Understanding? Clear? So your objective resolution, Constituent Assembly, it again the same story. 1946 it started, but then from then they had needed some time to do what? Frame the constitution, form ordinary laws, but then they needed one guy for the external. That is why your Lord Mountbatten, we got dominion status after independence. That is the only time we got dominion status. We never got it before. Key point highlighted, very important. Now then what happened? We got dominion status, fine, we were forming this constitution. While drafting this constitution, to see how the constitution was, he gave this objective resolution. Now when he gave this objective resolution, he had to alleviate people's fears. That is, your princely states were worried whether this guy will take away everything. So like that day we discussed. Okay, this is nothing but your Jawaharlal Nehru telling the princely states, don't worry, I'll not take everything from you. It is just a free will. Okay, now the British dude will go away, rather Indians will be there. Okay, after this Constituent Assembly ka role, we have spoken ordinary laws, or Constituent Assembly will continue its role up until the first general election. 1950, the day Constitution comes into power, these people are thrown. Okay, as a Constituent Assembly, it's done. Your fourth point was done, no? Someone please read this.
Guarantee and secure to all the people of India, justice, social, economic, and political, equality of status of opportunity and before the law, freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action, subject to law and public morality, wherein advocates safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and this and other backward classes.
These two are important, but we won't speak about it now. We will discuss the very next topic being preamble. The modified version of these is what we have taken for preamble. Okay, the very next topic after this, we will discuss it then. Please read this. Okay, we use the word republic. Land, air, water, all three, okay, will fall under this republic only. Again, this, the India Independence Act. This India Independence Act, okay. Now further, India Independence Act is when we got the independence, okay. Lord Mountbatten, the guy we just spoke about. Initially, when India got independence, your princely states didn't want to join in the fear that, okay, these people will take away everything, because they were fearful. Ancient India, that's how it was. No, again some king, again some queen. Then now this people, no, we will not do that at all. We are done with this era. Our Constituent Assembly makers will now try to tell this princely states, you have your own power, you'll have your palace, you'll have your money, everything. See, during the British itself, they never had any power. So the princely states were not giving up any power actually. They were just worried whether your British used to give them pensions. Okay, all the princely states, the people you'll call doctrine of lapse, subsidiary alliance, all these words will come in your history. The British used to give them some annual pension. King and queen they were. They didn't know any other occupation. What occupation they'll go and do? But they need money to run the life. That money was given to them by the British. So they were okay with it. Okay or not okay, didn't have any other choice. Now when Indians will come, these people were worried what will happen to us, what will happen to our livelihood. That time is when your British told, no, don't worry, I will give that. I will give you that pension. That time they called it pension. Now I will call it privy purse. Privy purs. Just write that down. British pensions to the royals, chiefs, who will now be replaced by privy purse. Privy. P capital in the privy, purse pe again P capital. Privy. Privy purse. The job of making all these guys to agree to this concept of let's form India, let's form an Indian Union, it all laid with one man, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So gradually they also joined, okay, which led to India Independence Act of 1947, or nothing but India attaining freedom. Now, in this India Independence Act, they'll form multiple committees, head, chair, tail, everything will be there. Only the important ones I'll tell you, because there are multiple things. Okay, just someone read this, please.
Sovereign body also became a legislative body. Two main tasks: prepare the constitution and make order laws. Thus, assembly became the first parliament of India.
Simple, pretty simple. Nothing but Constituent Assembly. After Independent Act was passed, now the only lawmaking body which is recognized as the lawmaking body for India is your Constituent Assembly only. Constituent Assembly 1946 only it start first session. But the power compared to 1946 to 47 is tremendously different. 47, the only lawmaking body in Pura India is your Constituent Assembly. Making Assembly becomes the first parliament of free India. No need to write anything down in this. You've already written, you know, the prepares constitution and all those things. I told you again, two things. Your Constituent Assembly was meeting for creating constitution and for creating legislative laws. Whenever your constituent assembly met for constitutional purposes, it was presided or headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Whenever it was meeting to make laws, it was chaired by your G.V. Malvankar. This you have to by heart. When I say by heart, put an asterisk next to it, you have to by heart. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairman of the constitutional body. Whenever Constituent Assembly met to discuss constitutional matters, he was the president or chairman. Rajendra Prasad, you have to by heart. Done? Apart from the two tasks of creating constitution and making ordinary laws, it also did these works. It ratified India's membership to Commonwealth, meaning it said we will join Commonwealth. You said when? 1949. It adopted the national flag, it adopted national anthem, adopted national song, made Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first president. You don't have to by heart these, but you have to by heart this. It was a prelims question. What was the roles of your Constituent Assembly? It made constitution, it made ordinary laws, it adopted national flag, national anthem, national song, ratified India's membership to Commonwealth. Numbers no need to by heart, data no need to by heart, but these things Commonwealth did, I mean your Constituent Assembly did, that you have to know. Done? Your Constituent Assembly was criticized so much. It's that mostly all of you members are just lawyers. Mostly all of you members are already not directly elected by people. You say popular sovereignty, but reality pe popular sovereignty didn't happen. It was all indirectly elected. Again, anything you do at that period of time, it has its own pros and cons. Done? One more thing I need to mention. This book already is filled with too much information. Okay. And now if I make or provide you slides with additional fancier pictures, diagrams, it is just again and again and again overload of information. How much information can you consume? You need something even before you start an exam or you're supposed to write a mock test. You need some source which has comprised information crisp enough for you to do. Okay. You have so much content available, but by the time you finish how much content you need, your 1 year preparation is only over. Yes.
When the Constituent Assembly was granted, the permission to form, the British actually, gave this rigid criteria.
As in?
Like, I don't know, maybe
Huh.
partly elected and partly voted. He did that because of the rigid criteria which asked us to follow it.
They were more than happy to do whatever chaos we wanted. We had to do that, but they kept sowing seeds of partition. They told, how about you make a Constituent Assembly that majority members will be Muslims, majority member will be Sikhs, When we asked, why are you interfering? They told, because they are underrepresented community. You people are crushing it. They wanted to create a constituent assembly in such a manner that it could not be created in the first place. If second we created, it would just end up in clashes. So they wanted to make sure, that is why, remember I told you in one of the August offer 1940, Constituent Assembly will be mostly by Indians, or it will comprise few Indians. Okay, but when we formed, whatever they told was not very wrong. They told that you have to have your Muslims, Sikhs, everyone. India also had that conditions of fight and clashes. But at the same point of time, their perspective was to make sure it doesn't work. Our perspective was how to channel through this.
Why was it Constituent Assembly this is? But it was a British who did the IAS.
No. After once they gave permission to form Constituent Assembly after 1942 Cripps, your cabinet mission, we ourselves could make the Constituent Assembly. They didn't guide us as to how we should do it. We ourselves should make it based on the scenario that was existing at that period of time. Okay. You guys want a 10-minute break or something? Yeah. I should have given it that time only. Okay. 4:20. You're done with this, no? Pretty much we have discussed this. The Constituent Assembly ended the day Constitution came into power, that is on 24 January 1950. It continued as a provisional parliament. We have discussed this in detail. Until the first parliament came into picture, it had to perform the role of a parliament. Okay, no need to by heart the rules. Constituent Assembly, see, again, now for particular area, okay, let's say mainly they kept the membership in three ways. They kept the membership in three ways for Constituent Assembly. They were going to divide it between three categories: general, Muslim, Sikhs. Okay, general comprised of every other people belong to different religion apart from Muslims and Sikhs. Okay, now when it comes to general, there are particular areas, okay, where already a Constituent Assembly, let's say a bigger state or province, where there will be already elected members. All those elected members will choose one person from that area. Okay, now there will be some smaller places, or where, for example, let's say Muslim population is in a very higher quantity. In that places, only the Muslim people will pick a person and select. Okay, the same applies to Sikh also. In these places where already existing members, bigger states or provincial assemblies were already there, they just nominated. In places where they were not big enough to form assemblies, that way they told people to elect. So your Constituent Assembly was partly elected, partly nominated. Just who did this? The Constituent Assembly members, because at that point of time they had only that option. Okay, they couldn't bring adult franchise, means everyone who is above age of particular person can vote. That they couldn't do it yet. That they will do it in the first General Assembly elections. That is in the 1951-52 period where it happens. Na? That time, universal adult franchise, male, female, both, irrespective of your education, irrespective of your caste, irrespective of your class, you can vote. Clear? This is your members of Constituent Assembly. A lot of members, a lot of committees. Within the Constituent Assembly, only small committees will be formed. You cannot by heart this much. Even if you by heart, it is waste. But there are certain questions which comes very recurrent in prelims or which have come. I'll tell you those things. You just write down. But someone before read this slide.
Members of Constituent. Jayanagara Nehru, Prime Minister, External Affairs and Government Relations, Scientific Research.
Okay, once again. See now when one Constituent Assembly member was Jawaharlal Nehru. Gandhi was never a member of Constituent Assembly. I've written that down. He was the Prime Minister. He was also the External Affairs and Commonwealth Relations Minister. He was also the head of scientific research. Now when we take Vallabhbhai Patel, he was the Home Minister. He was also the IB Minister, and anything to do with the states, he was the Minister. Okay, like this, they were taking charge of different portfolio. These things are all called as portfolio. Okay, history pe they will teach you in elaborate when portfolio system come and all those. But as of now, just read. Continue.
Vallabhbhai Patel, Port, Information and Broadcasting, Space. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Food and Agriculture. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, Education. Dr. John Mackay, Railways and Transport. R.K. Shanmugam Shetty, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Road. Jagdeepan Ram, Labor. Sardar Baldev Singh, Defense. Rajkumari Amit Kaur, Health. H. Bhava, Commerce. Rafi Ahmed Kidwai, Communication. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Industries.
The reason I told you to read was few things you have to know about Constituent Assembly. It's not in the book, but they think it is for the general awareness. They assume that is why they don't give it, but they ask questions in prelims, people leave it, not knowing what to. Was there a head of Constituent Assembly involving women? Yes. Was more than one portfolio taken by one person? Yes, obviously. Okay, so one person was the head of multiple portfolios also. Women were also there in the member of Constituent Assembly as well as the chairman of particular portfolios. That is important. You have to by heart this one. Jawaharlal Nehru, basically Prime Minister, External Affairs. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Home.
Until now, there is no party now.
In this, they all belong to different parties. The elections were happening in India way back. 1939 pe also elections took place, but everything was under British. That time they all also belonged to different parties with everything. But predominant party at that point of time was Congress, which had multiple people coming from different batch also. But after this 1951 elections, one election for the country. You just jotted down that there were also women committee members who headed portfolios. That is not given anywhere in the book, but when it was asked in prelims, people thought, I have women, how it will become? You don't need to write all these down, just the two things which I told you, first and second, that's it. And then you will write down there were also women members in the Constituent Assembly who headed for portfolios. In your polity book, the first thing are all about acts, regulating act, charter act. All those will be covered in your history in even more detailed form. That will be sufficient for this. Okay, all the acts whichever is in polity will be covered by your history faculty. Done? These were the committees. Committee means one single thing. Let's take Union Powers Committee or Union Constitution Committee, States Committee. Drafting committee. The head of constitution drafting was your B.R. Ambedkar. How the constitution should come out and all those things, Jawaharlal Nehru. Nothing but, remember when we discussed Constituent Assembly, I told you 300 odd members are there. But particular members will form for particular things. In this, multiple things have come on prelims on a very large scale. I write down these things. I want you to by heart. Union powers. Do not get confused between Constitution Committee and Drafting Committee. 90% of the time, people make a mistake when I use Union Constitution Committee. B.R. Ambedkar is the first answer. Only Drafting Committee chairman was Ambedkar. He was the one who drafted the Constitution. He is the father of Indian Constitution. But Indian Union Constitution Committee, it was Jawaharlal Nehru and not Ambedkar. He is drafting the committee constitution. Matlab, people have discussed it. Okay, he's putting it all in order as to how should be the original constitution coming out. Okay, so for that multiple drafts are needed. For example, you will write mains exam, right? Before writing mains exam, you'll write multiple mock exams. Then only you will perfect your answer to write on mains exam. Consider this like a mains exam, consider this like a mock exam. Okay, multiple drafts had to be prepared to create that final document, that is Constitution of India.
He just made the drafts. All of that was put together by.
No. Jawaharlal Nehru did not put together anything. He was the senior, because he is of a very higher rank. He was the one overlooking how the constitution should come out. For example, objective resolution. He was the one who gave how the constitution should be formed.
How should.
Yes, but the content, work, everything was done by Ambedkar.
Basically, the index and the.
Exactly, body and everything will be like this.
How is it?
Steering committee, where is this? Dr. Rajendra Prasad. See, when it comes to your states committee or your Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel will also be involved in multiple of these things. How you navigate the country, how you steer them together. For example, states, they were telling, I will not join. Again, in your history, post-independence history, they will tell. Jayanagara will tell, I'll not join. Hyderabad will tell, I'll not join. The Indian Union or Indian Constitution. So how do you put all of them together and make one whole India map? Within India only, now you know Hyderabad. Okay. Now all of a sudden, if they tell, no, I want to remain independent, is it possible? They have to put them all in one picture and get them together. So these works were done, or not done by this person alone. This person headed this committee. Okay, these were all prelims asked. Very important was your powers committee. Always remember the powers committee. People always do mistake in Constitution committee. Constitution committee, word they see B.R. Ambedkar in option will be given. First they'll take that. See, there are like too much big committees, and then there's something again called, these are called as major committees. Again, some other things will come in the form of minor committees. Your book is filled with those. You don't have to by heart all of those. Just know there are something called major committees, minor committees. Major means topic is big like this. For example, today, defense minister, right? Big position compared to water ministry. Okay. Defense is bigger or this is bigger? The priority is more, no, higher the portfolio, importance is higher. That kind. What is it? Is it? Bag. To come into INC, your history, pura history they will teach.
But now there is no state or minister, no one managing two portfolios. They can run other own leadership groups.
No. You today also you can have more than 2, 3, or how many ever portfolios you want. More than all of the prime ministers that we have had, they've all taken more portfolios. 2, 3 portfolios also they've taken. For example, finance is a very important portfolio. 2 people, your loyalists. This is for our conversation sake, I'm telling. You have two loyalists. They're telling, if you give finance to the other guy, I will quit the party. The other guy will tell, it's fine if you don't give it to me, but you shouldn't give it to that guy. You can't lose both. You can't give it to either one. So you yourself will assume that has happened in real life political scenario, in our own politics. Politics is politics, end of day. Done? Now please read this. When it was adopted itself, it had 395 articles. It had one preamble and 8 schedules. Now it is even more. You don't have to by heart this, but this is not in the book. Write this down and tell you where you can use it as an introduction or in mid the body. This you don't have to by heart the year, but in the preamble it will come, so you have to by heart it. Again, not here. I'll tell you when and there. Just write down this thing. This is the second point. Just the second point. Done? See, now we've spoken so much about Constituent Assembly. Now we'll see the criticism. Before entering that, see, I told you Constituent Assembly had 3 parts where general category, Muslim, 6, right? Despite that, it was criticized that it was dominated by Hindus. It was said that it is not a representative body. They said all of India didn't vote, then how it is India? You did not do direct election, then how do you tell all people elected it? It was all indirect election. And they also told it is not a sovereign body. The reason they're telling it is not a sovereign body was India herself was not free when Constituent Assembly first came in. That was in 1946 only. Remember first one slide we saw, after 1947 Independence Act, power of Constituent Assembly was different. Before 1947, power of Constituent Assembly was different. People are commenting, Constituent Assembly formation only was not in free India. It was asked and did by British. So how is it a sovereign body? That is the criticism. Okay. It was too time consuming, obviously. We took a lot of time. According to some people, they said US Constitution, they finished in 4 months. We can counter by telling Australian Constitution took 9 years. And they said, like you asked, were there no other parties? There were parties, there were also members from that parties, but it was majorly dominated by Congress members. And all the members were mainly lawyers or politicians. Most importantly, lawyers. This was the criticism that Constituent Assembly faced. Okay. During the making of the Constitution of India, it was to be made in English. It was made in English. It is still in English. Okay. They did not think of translating in the original forefathers who made the Constitution. They did not think that we will make the Constitution in another language. But very later, president, after India got independence and multiple years later, the president decided, no, we'll make one more Constitution. By one more Constitution, different language let's translate. That was Hindi. Originally, the makers of the constitution, okay, did not think of making the constitution in any other language apart from English. The reason being, again, same thing. North people, South people, East people, West people. If you pick Hindi, then Southern states will tell Hindi domination. If you pick Southern thing, people will tell, this is South Indian domination. So to avoid that, they just made it in English. So there was no provision that the Constituent Assembly had written in the Constitution to make it in another language. But after Free India, multiple years later, the President, okay, now he can give an ordinance and tell, yes, you can make it in Hindi also, translate in Hindi. Now, let's say when you translate something, okay, your UPSC mains or your UPSC prelims pay itself, if you see, it is in two language, Hindi, English. In case, okay, in case a conflict arises in the question as to Hindi pay, it is appearing differently, English pay, it is appearing differently, the English version will prevail. Similarly with the Constitution. English version to whatever is given, that version will prevail. Hindi version is also made. When and where any amendments are made in the English version, the same will be updated even in Hindi version. Originally, Constituent Assembly did not think about even Hindi version of Constitution. Now we have it. It is just a translation, that's it. Understanding? Yes.
Constitution came into force on Jan 26 and Constitution was adapted on number 26 and before it. What's the difference? What is adapted?
Okay. We finished the Constitution when we adopted itself. November 26, 1949. It is done. The Constitution is done. Okay. That day we finished it. We all signed also. We told, yes, Constitution is there. Now it has to come into force. For example, India pay still we follow this thing called as law when it will come into force. Today is 27th January. Today I will form a law, okay, that it is mandatory for everyone to learn, mandatory for everyone to learn Hindi. Okay, on 27th January, I am passing this law. I have passed it off. But in the law, I will tell, see, today just because I tell law is I have passed, tomorrow say I cannot force everyone to learn Hindi. I need to give them some time to cooperate or to even come to terms with it. So in the law itself, I will tell this law that I have passed on 27 January will come to force from 26th February. This time is just I'm giving them to come to that mindset, okay, from this month onwards, it is mandatory. Here I have adopted, here it came into force.
So the Constitution was completed.
Yes. It came into effect, which means from now on it will happen, means it's the Republic Day. I'm just giving them time to fathom this information. Okay? Yeah. In the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act, I will little bit later explain what is Constitution Amendment and all those things. Okay? 1987, we inserted a new article, Article 374A, meaning we will translate the Constitution in Hindi language and only the President has the authority to do it. Okay? Simple word, language of Constitution, originally English. Translated to Hindi was brought about in the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act, and this power resides only with the President. Just write that down in your own words. That is this Constitution. Article 394A will tell that, okay, now we have a Hindi version of Constitution. Matlab, this Constitutional Amendment Act, 58th Constitutional Amendment Act is telling we will bring about this change. This article contains what is that change. That is nothing but bringing your constitution in Hindi language. Next class you'll get Bakshi book. Now I'll tell you how articles are, how it will work. And also there is an app, Play Store pe, Constitution of India. Download that. See, on this front, this is additional information. We'll get it very later in topic, but still I'll tell you. In the law version, I told you 27 January, today I'm framing a law and telling that it will come into force on 26 February. Right? This is normal law. There's something called as retrospective law. That means 27 January 2024, I'm forming this law. Okay? I can tell that today I'm passing the law on 27 January 2024. Gang rape criminals will be executed, hung. That will apply from June 2016. Look at this. Okay. There will be cases. Okay, you want to finish this? Then I'll explain. I told you normal law is, I'll pass a law 27 January. I will mention whether this law is applicable from today itself or tomorrow itself or at a particular date. This is normal law. I also, as a parliament, have the power to tell this particular law is applicable previously also. June 2016, it's over, no? June 2016 is over, June 2024, January 24th, if I'm passing. This version of law is called retrospective law. Meaning, let's say court pe there are cases. Okay? Court pe there are cases, there is some gang rape criminal case going on. If the crime was committed even in 2016 pe there was no law. Let's assume I'm telling that this people will be hanged. But now there is a law and that tells from 2016 it's applicable, which means they will be, when they are tried and they are found guilty, they will be hanged. This is called retrospective law. We have the power to do that and we have did multiple laws like that also. Human trafficking. Okay. In these kind of cases, we have did these kind of laws also. Understanding? Clear up until here? This completes this portion. We'll start with the next we start with preamble. So in your polity book, there's something called, okay, after making of constitution, we are done with making of constitution. There's something called salient features of constitution, but we will do that later. Now we go to preamble. Okay. Some please read just the highlighted part. Why did we need the constitution? For what do we need the constitution? Okay, no need to write it, but we'll understand that at the end of this preamble talk. Someone please read this.
Preamble, based on the objective resolution, drafted and moved by Pandit Nehru, Preamble adopted on 26 Jan 1949. Preamble came to force on 26 January 1949. What is preamble? Summary or essence of the Constitution, and this is based on the objective resolution.
Pretty much no. Adopted, came into force. What is the difference? Okay. Preamble is based on your objective resolution. It was moved by Pandit Nehru. This much thing is fine. Preamble we have already spoken. It's like your index, stuff like that. See, if you see further down, I'll show you the preamble and constitution. It is a huge book. You've seen this Hogwarts books and all. It's like this big, and your Harry Potter movies, it's actually like that big. Okay, it is kept in our parliament also for viewing. The original version was actually handwritten in an italicized version. Yes. Yeah. What is it? No. The thing is, there are so many such facts from now onwards. You will get so many such facts. Okay, you don't have to buy hard those. Is the preamble part of the Constitution? Okay, here I'm telling you this, but further down we will start listening about court cases. I'll just explain in general smaller things later. There's something called as okay. As of now, understand there's something called as how the cases are made is from now onwards, Polity we will be entering into something called as court cases. Okay, we will take the name of the cases. The way the cases will be framed is someone versus something. Now we will take something as Berubari Union case. Further down, when we do the topic, I'll explain what is this case now. Next, Keshwananda Bharati case. Okay, from now moving forth onwards, I will tell you there are multiple cases. I'll tell you which you have to by heart, which you have to by heart. See, there was a question. This period, 1970s period, okay, we have multiple things associated. Firstly, this Pakistan is coming telling I'm going to wage war. Okay, Pakistan is coming and telling I'm going to wage war. Then we have multiple states in India telling your western, northwest India is telling I want separate Khalistan. Your southern India is telling I want separate southern land. Your eastern land is telling separate northeast from India. We don't have any connectivity. One side, these people are fighting. The Pakistan has come for war. One side, within India, fights are happening. Okay. So upon that, in that cases, in the eastern strips, Naxalism has started. Okay. Amidst all this, India was going through a rough patch within India and outside India. Upon that, these places like your UN, WHO, they are telling you people are making too much population. Unless and until you reduce your population, we are not going to engage with you. We are not going to give you support. So people are already tormenting us in that way. Okay, this was a pretty rough, shaky phase for India. Upon that, the Prime Minister at that point of time was Indira Gandhi. There was emergency period. Okay, emergency period, war is happening within India, issues happening outside India, the WTO, UN, everyone is belting us everywhere. So there now came places, okay. 42nd Amendment. Whenever, see, we saw in the preamble, originally when it was adopted, some 395 articles was there, right? Which means Parliament can change, okay? It can change whatever articles were there, or it can introduce new one. Any changes you are making to this big book of Constitution, it is called as amendment. Okay, any changes to the Constitution that we got from our forefathers in 1950, 26 That way, if you make any changes, whether you add or remove, it is called as amendment. Amendment can be done only by your parliament. No one else can do it. No one person can do it. Your entire parliament only has the ability. How the procedure that we will read a little bit later. Okay. They can change the contents in the constitution. The question arose, is preamble part of the constitution? If preamble is part of the constitution, then can be amended. Supreme Court in Berubari Union case told that no, preamble is not a part of constitution, which means you cannot amend it, which means you cannot add anything to the preamble, which means you cannot remove anything from the preamble. The same Supreme Court, okay, in the Keshwanand Bharti case told that preamble is very much the part of your constitution, and because it is a part of constitution, it can be amended. Okay, so again further years later, LIC of India case, in that way also they again reiterated telling preamble is a part of constitution. So preamble is a part of constitution and it can be amended. Write that down in big bold letters, underline it, highlight it, whatever it is. The most important for mains as well as interview as well as prelims. There is an amendment. Only once preamble was amended, and that was in the 42nd Amendment, 1976. Preamble was amended only once. I thought I'll give it in the next class, but fine. See, in your Keshwanand Bharti case, they told preamble is very much the part of the constitution and preamble can be amended except without changing the basic structure of the constitution. Write this down, we'll discuss it later. Very crucial word. From now on, you will just write that to almost all the answers of yours. Apart from this part, whatever you were writing, finish it. Then I'll tell. None? In your Keshwanand Bharti case, Supreme Court gave the verdict that preamble is very much the part of a constitution, which means preamble can be amended. Amended means you have to write on that also in your book. Any changes, additions or deletions, both are called amendment. Anything you change to the constitution, okay, which means preamble is amendable, but without altering the basic structure of the constitution. Add on the exact words, without altering basic structure of the constitution, put it in quotes and highlight this word, basic structure of the constitution. Without altering the basic structure of constitution. Has the preamble been amended? Yes, it has been amended only once, and that is in the 42nd Amendment, where we didn't delete anything, but we just added few words. Thank you.